Do you want a rich spouse? I mean, sure, they can provide for you, but wouldn't that mean there's an unequal power dynamic? And in these relationships, do women usually get the brunt of them? You know, are they respected or not respected, not taken seriously? And is it better for them to just up and leave these relationships? Let's explore these ideas with A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. Welcome to Let's Talk About It, and I'm your host, Gadar Chaudhary. From its daring social commentary to its dramatic scenes, Henrik Ibsen's A Doll House is an enticing play that touches upon themes that are relevant even today. One such theme is the idea of power dynamics, specifically in a marriage. In A Doll's House, the husband, Torvald, controls his wife's actions. He constantly puts her down, and eventually, when the time comes for him to protect her, he blames her for all of their faults. Fed up, his wife, Nora, leaves him and his house to become her own person. Throughout the play, Ibsen essentially conveys the notion that because of patriarchal rules and expectations, the man is expected to have more power in a marriage than the woman does. In A Doll's House, Ibsen uses money as a symbol for power, Torvald's demeaning pet names, and Nora standing up for herself as evidence that there is an unequal power balance between the two. When thinking about all these ideas of feminism and standing up for oneself and male oppression, I thought of a very famous event that happens almost that everyone pays attention to for a few days each year, the Cannes Festival. France's biggest film festival celebrating art and artists each year, a place for celebrities to debut their new movies and look their best. This year, Jennifer Lawrence broke the internet with her red Christian Dior ball gown. And what was she wearing for her shoes? Flip flops. Weird at first glance, but when you think about it, not so much. In 2015, when a group of women were sent away from a premiere of Carol, why? Because they were wearing flats. Not because they were controversial, not because they were horrible people who were exposed, but because they were wearing flat footed shoes instead of high heels. At face value, this does seem absurd, but if we analyze it deeper, we can recognize that this decision had a lot to do with the patriarchy, specifically with how money can give men more power. In A Doll's House, we see Nora literally controlled by money. Torvald uses it to control her mood and actions, saying, "Come, come, my little skylark, must not droop her wings. What is this? Is my little squirrel out of temper? Nora, what do you think I've got here?" Here, Torvald is establishing himself as the controller, the dominator, and Nora is forced into the receiver role. Like a child begging for treats, she is put into a submissive role by him, excitedly screaming, "Money!" Ibsen uses this power as a direct symbol of I- Ibsen uses this money as a direct symbol of power. Torvald makes the money and owns it, thus he has all the power. It's also worth noting that Nora is not allowed to make money. She says that writing is a tremendous pleasure because it was like being a man. She says this because she had finally had a taste of being an equal. Similarly, the Cannes Festival ruling was made by rich men who, because of their access to resources, were more powerful than the women attending. This difference allowed for them to hold a more superior stature, one that could enforce whatever rules they want and view women as less than them. Even the director of the Cannes, Thierry Frémaux, exposes the rule as outdated and pointless, stating that it was unfounded and just a rumor. Evidently, the rule's only purpose was to serve as a way for these rich men to feel more powerful. It's no secret that Torvald prioritizes Nora's image instead of who she actually is. Throughout many times in the play, he treats her, well, like his little doll. The biggest example of this is all the nicknames. There are around 20 examples of him demeaning her this way. Then, when she acts much more than a pretty little pet and challenges him, he makes himself out to be the victim, such as after she expressed her concerns of firing Krogstad, he says, I can forgive the anxiety you are in, although it is an insult to me. But I forgive you nevertheless, because it is such eloquent witness to your great love for me. Takes her in his arms. And that is as it should be, my own darling Nora. He doesn't listen to her, ignores her concern, and then acts like she doesn't even support him at all. In his eyes, she can never be more than his little bird and must always act like this. This manipulative use of assertion or power grabbing is very commonly observed in relationships where power disparity is evident, such as during the Cannes Festival, the women were not allowed to be themselves. A journalist from The Guardian states, on your ticket that you have it says they have to be smartly dressed. For women, that means high heels, which is unfortunate because they're uncomfortable. Women had to be wearing high heels. They were forced to appear always as these put together models who were pretty and shiny and new and always dressed up for the men. They were not allowed to look comfortable because these men couldn't fathom that they would be. A common trope that women are put in is that they should always look put together and that their work is never taken seriously. Mothers are told it's just taking care of your kids, it's not a real job. Women who work are told, sure, you're working, but it's not like you're doing a man's job. It's not really that hard. It's unfathomable that a woman should be comfortable because it's unfathomable that they do anything worth resting from. By the end of the play, Nora breaks this cycle of inequality. She stands up for herself as a symbol for women everywhere. After telling Torvald off, she leaves him and wins the right to become her own person, someone without the narcissistic shadow of her husband regulating and watching her every move. Now, she can wear what she wants, make money for herself, and gain more autonomy. Essentially, by gaining her independence, she has more power than she did before. I liken this analysis to Jennifer Lawrence's act this year at this year's Cannes Festival. After the 2015 debacle, she was inspired to stand with those women and against this antiquated expectation. This year, under her long, beautiful, flowy red dress, she wore flip flops. Not heels, like most men would expect, but normal old flip flops. Why? Because it was comfortable. That's it. She's a hardworking woman who has a job, is a mother, and her own person. Therefore, she has the right to be comfortable. Like Julia Roberts mentioned when she went to Cannes barefoot in 2018, a lot was happening from my ankles up. Let's not forget all that. A lot of time and effort went into ankles up. I just want to say, for the record, I looked nice last night. The woman still looked formal, like the dress code called for, yet were still criticized for the smallest thing ever. By wearing flip flops, Lawrence is essentially stating, no, you do not get to prioritize your image of me over my own comfort. I am not your doll, I am not your plaything. You do not get to dress me up in what I want, in what you want. All in all, Lawrence and Nora both break free of this awful dynamic and gain more power for women everywhere. Without women standing up for themselves, we would not be here today. Jennifer Lawrence didn't just wear some comfortable footwear, but she stood up for those women and women in the future. Just like Nora, she made an example of the men who try to control women with money and unequal power sharing. Nora stands as an example for women everywhere who are trying to make a name for themselves and have to leave their narcissistic husbands. They represent the feminist ideals of fighting against oppression.